Hello everyone, and this is podcast 104 of the Double Cross Anime. This week we do something special. So we watch two movies from last year, but they just released the DVD Blu-ray recently. And so those two are Lupin the Third, the first, and Her Blue Sky, or the title, the long title would be To Those Who Know of the Blueness of the Sky.
Oh, I thought you were going to pronounce the
And
Japanese title there.
no, not gonna do that.
Okay, I don't know it, so
and
I can't try it.
we're gonna do the episode 3 to 5 of The Great Pretender, which conclude the first act.
Yes, the first case, all the way up to
Yeah, the first
1.5,
case.
and then I looked ahead, and the second case is also 5 episodes. So I don't know what episode count we'll do for next time, but we can probably just keep doing like 2 1 week and 3 another.
Yep, or 2.5.
Oh, that would be experimental. We could try that, I guess.
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
All right. I think we can start with the movies first.
Okay. Which one should we start with?
I think let's start with All right. I'm gonna say the Japanese name. Sorano Aosa Oshiru Hitoyo.
Okay.
Her Blue Sky.
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. So if anyone haven't heard of Her Blue Sky, this is another movies that is written by Mari Okada and directed by Tatsuyuki Nagai, who make Anohana and Anthem of the Heart together.
That's true. Yeah, but not just that. He also directed Toradora, which was written by Mario Okada. He also directed
Really?
Mobile
I
Suit.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
He also directed Mobile
Wow.
Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, which was for which the series composer was Mario Okada. They've been cooperating on a lot of projects over the past decade. They're kind of like a dynamic duo. This is, I guess, the latest in there. Isn't this kind of acting as the third part of a trilogy? Not that all three things are in the same continuity, but they kind of have similar themes.
Yeah, that's what I heard. They're not really official, but they are, because I actually not the two of them, but also the chief animation director, I think. Masayushi Tanaka. So the three of them, they have like the creative team named Super Peace Busters. So the three of them work for Anohana and the Anthem of the Heart.
Right.
And this one. So yeah, it's like a blue trilogy,
right,
so to speak.
So this is the third and final installment in that quote unquote trilogy. I've seen Anohana before, but you've seen both that series and Anthem of the Heart, is that right?
Yeah, that is correct.
So how do you think this one stacks up?
I think for me personally, I think that is a worthy follow up to those two. I can decide though if it's better or worse than Anthem of the Heart and Anohana. They kind of like on the same level, on the same wavelength to me.
Gotcha. Okay. So a fitting conclusion then, I guess, to... Well, you kind of made a comment like a couple seconds ago, like maybe it's not over. Like maybe this isn't a conclusion. Maybe they're going to keep working together, because it's a lot of the same staff that originally worked on Anohana. Not just the Super Peace Busters that you mentioned, but apparently a lot of staff members, like for example, the way that a lot of staff members on Hibike worked on the Chikai no Finale, like the film that just came out recently. Like it's a lot of the same animators even, and people doing the layouts. So maybe they'll keep working together, but if this is the third and final installment, then I not having seen Anthem of the Heart, I would say that this is a pretty good follow-up. In fact, I think this is an improvement on what I saw from Anohana.
Wow, all right. I'm glad you see that. Can you expand more on why you prefer this one more than Anohana?
Yeah, sure. I mean, very briefly, Anohana is a tearjerker, whereas this movie
Right,
is a character study.
right, as well. Yep.
Um, and that's not to say that I did not cry while watching this, because I did.
Wow.
Uh,
I'm
but
glad.
Anohana is more about the sadness of the situation that the characters find themselves in when they're all forced to like confront their past and their memories of whatever the little ghost girl's name is.
Mm,
It's all about how sad that is. Uh,
mm,
at least that's the what I took away from it. I really didn't feel as though I had really I didn't feel as though I had really felt what any of the characters were
yep.
feeling when I
Connected.
was yeah, I
Right.
guess. And perhaps that's because there were 5 of them, and
Yep.
I mean, it was an 11 episode TV series. I think it was 11 because it was on Noitamina.
Mm,
And so we had, the show had to split its time between all of them. Um, but in this one, it was pretty laser focused on Aoi,
mm.
um, or Aoi, or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
Aoi, yeah. And, or Ao. Her nickname is Ao.
Mm.
It was laser focused on her, and I feel like I really got to know her really well.
Yeah, I feel like the trilogy that we just talked about also like touch the theme of a slightly bit of supernatural. So in Anohana we got like a ghost
Right.
that's come back. In Anthem of the Hat we have like
Oh,
a
don't say, I'm gonna watch Anthem of the Heart. I downloaded it because
all
I
right.
really liked Her Blue Sky, so I figured I would go
Yeah.
back and watch the previous one.
I
So actually, don't tell me
it
anything about it.
all right because it's just the premise, but yeah, I'm not gonna spoil you on that as
I
well.
mean, I suspect that it has a supernatural component to it based on the fact that
Yep.
it's part of this trilogy, but I don't want to know what it is
All right. I keep you
in the dark.
not informed. Yeah, enough on that. On this one, we have like a also the spirit. Like I'm not even sure how he function actually. Like he can eat.
Right.
He's like the physical thing, so he can uh you can touch him. He can touch other people. I don't know why though that he appear at that point of time. Like he just if he like a spirit, uh, doesn't he like have been always present
No.
all that time?
No.
All right, so, can you tell me why? Because I'm not really catching on that.
Okay. Sure. I mean, that would be kind of jumping right into the heart of like what I feel about the film, but
Mm.
yes, I think the reason that Shino, so there's Shino and then there's Shinosuke.
Yep.
Shinosuke is the present day version of Shino, the
Mm.
31-year-old.
Yep.
Shino is the manifestation of Shinosuke's feelings for Akane. And the reason that he appears in the temple room during the events of this movie, and he was not there the whole time, is that he reappears when Shinosuke comes back
Come back.
to their town.
All right, that makes sense.
Shino is actually like the spirit of that red guitar.
Right.
The guitar that he went to the guitar shop and bought with Akane, but then left behind in his hometown,
Mhm.
in that temple room, when he left to go to Tokyo, and Akane stayed behind,
Mhm.
and that's why at the very end of the film he disappears, because Shinosuke has forced himself to reckon with his affection for Akane again. He's finished suppressing it, and he's willing to be honest with himself about how he feels. He's not pushing it down and running away.
Yep. All right. For me, I think that on these um Mari Okada style, like in general, had always really good about uh characterize like different characters. Like so each characters have their own personality, their own way of saying, their own mannerism. and and they have like their own struggle as well. So here we can see like in the movies we can see Aoi struggle, Akane, Shino, and most notably Shinosuke's struggle with himself.
Oh,
So I
I would
really
say
like
that
that part.
Aoi's struggle is the most notable of the film.
Yeah,
Um,
well, that is true as
but
well.
Shinosuke's is pretty clear, like, you know, because of how his character turned out.
Yep.
You know, he's got cabaret girls coming by the city hall and being like, "You ready to go out and paint the town red?" And he's like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, now everyone knows that I'm just a big horn dog."
Yep. Um, for the main character though, I feel a bit mixed about her. I still like her, but I feel like she like a very typical Mari Okada protagonist.
Hmm. Okay.
So she's stubborn. Sometimes she doesn't show what she wants. So sometimes she say things to hurt other people, even though that she doesn't want it to. We have like that very scene where she accusing Akane.
Right.
And then we hear like her thought at the time that like why I'm saying this, why do I keep saying stuff that hurting my sister.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the thing that I feel a bit like repeated on her characters, but otherwise I feel like her characters have like a very good progression throughout the movies.
Yeah, and it's not just a single lesson that she needs to learn either. She needs to be accepting of herself and of like her position in life, where she lives, where she feels trapped between, you know, because they live in a basin between, kind of surrounded by like mountain ranges, and she feels trapped by that, which really reminded me of Fooly Cooly.
Right.
You know, nothing amazing ever happens here. That's what Tattoon is always saying, or not Tattoon. You know, the main guy in FLCL.
Yeah.
She feels the same way. So she learns to accept herself and her own, you know, her own emotions. The fact that she is in love with Shino, but can't have him. She learns to accept that. She learns to accept the love that her sister has given her. That the fact that her sister like gave up on her high school romance and her plans for her own life. She resented her sister for having done that because she felt indebted to her. She felt like she had been a burden and she wanted to escape. But when she found that strategy notebook underneath the sink, and that's when I really lost it. Like,
Yeah,
that
was really a really emotional scene.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
So when she found that, she was like, she realized how big it was, like what her sister had done for her, and she shouldn't resent her for that, and she shouldn't feel guilty about that, because that was a beautiful thing. And then she runs out of the house, and of course there's got to be like a running scene. Do you remember the scene from Girl Who Leapt Through Time, the running scene where she's like coming in and out of the camera's focus?
Yep.
Where there was a duplicate of that scene, as there have been in probably like a dozen different anime series. There was something that looked exactly like that. I remember Hibike Euphonium had a scene just like that too. So she learns a lot. Like she learns a lot. She doesn't grow a whole bunch, but we see the seeds planted, the seeds of like recognition for her moving forward. And that by itself, I think, is very satisfying.
And she also learned like apart from those things that you say, which are on point as well, she also learned to love her hometown.
Yeah.
Remember, like she looked up the sky and she said like the sky was so blue that I haven't even really take notice before.
Right. Yeah, because she's always been trapped, like thinking of just herself and her own situation, and feeling guilty and feeling like other people are disappointing her, or that she's disappointing herself, that she's disappointing others. But at the end, at the very end of the film. And I think that's what I think is so interesting about the ending is that we don't see the big performance where she's going to be the
Yeah.
bassist, and we don't see her. We don't see like a particular closing note, like a moment of triumph for her. What we see is her looking up. That's the end of the film, because she's thrown off, like her shackles that she had placed around her own hands and feet. She looks up and she sees that there's more. And that's something that a couple characters say throughout the film is, we're just getting started. I think the Japanese phrase is korekara, which means like from now on. That's repeated throughout the movie, and that the spirit of that phrase is present in that last scene. I think when she looks up, looking up towards the sky, there's so much more than she had ever realized here for her in her hometown and waiting for her in the future.
Yep. I was also expecting the gig, the musical to play.
Yeah.
So I at first I didn't know what to feel about that ending. That I was like, what?
I kind
I'm
of
still waiting for the performance.
I kind of had a similar feeling. Like I felt kind of cheated. But then I thought about it, and
But that makes sense.
yeah,
Yes.
because it was her story, and her that epiphany closes her arc, I think.
Yeah. And by saying that, I really like the dynamic between like Aoi and Akane, like the way that like when Akane and Shino talking on that day, and Aoi just come in and say that like you can't take Akane away from me.
Oh,
I
you're talking about
would
the flashback at the start, right? When Aoi's
that's
like
right.
5 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I was expecting that Aoi have that same kind of attitude towards like in the present day toward Akane, like she want to keep Akane close to herself just by herself. But the film goes a step further than that. That depict Aoi like feeling really guilty about like what she said on that day. That keep and she think that because of that it keep holding Akane back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuck into the play as well. Like one of the reasons we want to get out is for Akane to have a space, have a life of her own.
I would argue that that's the main reason that she wants to leave. Like, even though she has ambitions of being a musician, and even though she feels trapped by the town that she lives in, I think that those feelings probably have an origin in her relationship with her sister, and wanting to free both herself and her sister from their very close, like constricting relationship. She wants to be her own person, and she also like desperately wants her sister to be her own person.
Yep. Because we all see that Akane had been stuck, like in the town, like with like no love interest for 15 years or something along that line.
13 years is the length of the time skip. Yeah.
All right, 30 years.
And I mean, they have that scene where they're like kind of having that little miniature sleepover in the room, and we get that really nice shot of the bird's eye view looking down at the two futons.
Yep.
And they have that long exchange, and she says like, I did have, it's not as though for 13 years I went without. From time to time there were guys who I was interested in and who I went out with, and
That's right.
and you can see that the way Aoi freaks out, it tells you that she, at some part of her, still is that little 5-year-old girl who wants to monopolize her sister and keep her all to herself. That part of her still exists, and she resents that part of herself.
Yep.
So she's, I think you're probably right when you say that this is a character that Okada has written before and will probably write again. But nevertheless, I think for me, this might be the best version of that character that I've seen from her. Obviously, that's just like a personal thing, but I really liked her story.
I also like the fact that she have a crush on Shino, and the way that like a young girl have a crush on someone older, and then that like when she sees Shino and even Shinosuke like face to face like directly, you see like sometimes you can see that like her perfect image of the Shino that she fantasize like crumbling apart.
Yeah. Yeah, she's disgusted with him.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea, and I like how Shino actually says some of these things that like she keep holding on for 30 years. That really a commitment that she got there. She played guitar because of Shino compliment him on that, or compliment her on that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, she doesn't play electric guitar like he did, but if you remember the first scene, the flashback to when the original band with Shino and Michinko and whomever else, she points at the bass and says, "I want to play that." And then he says, "Okay, well, you're going to be the bassist in my band then." Yeah, that's. And then we get the echo of that scene too, because first we see her as a little girl watching their band practice, and then when we cut to the present day, we see her playing bass, and Tsugu, the elementary school kid who has the crush on her, is in the temple room listening to her practice. So she has inherited Shino's role as the cool musician, and there's a new person who's like starstruck. Like a younger person to look up to them. So the scenes play off each other pretty well.
Yep. But talking about that character, the
Tsugu.
Is that his name, Suku?
Yeah.
All right. Because I have here like the very long name Masatsugu. Yep. Talking about him, do you feel strange that he have a crush on Aoi, and that like he actually very mature for someone his age.
Yes, it's
well.
his dialogue is not realistic at all. He's like for an I mean, I don't think it's strange that he has a crush on Aoi, because if you're like 10 or 11 years old and a good looking, kind of withdrawn and moody, like artsy type of girl is hanging out with you all the time, of course you're gonna have a crush on her. I would, but he's definitely represented as far more mature than anyone his age could or should be. And I give the film grace in that regard. Like, I don't view it as a mistake or as like something unforgivable, because he's kind of meant to be her conscience in a way.
Right.
So that's a role that he plays. His character is not given a lot of depth or a lot of like realism or naturalism. He's there to serve a purpose. And he has an awesome design too. I love his little lidded eyes. They're cool.
Yep. And I actually really enjoy his relationship with Aoi, like the way that, remember Aoi like freaking out when she hear that Akane might be in affected by the
landslide.
By the landslides, and the first thing that he say is check your phone, use your phone.
Yeah.
Really love that, and Aoi was like yeah doing that.
Yeah, that's really what he's there for in the film, is for things like that, to get her to. I remember when we first meet him, when he's walking down the street at night with Aoi to go to the temple room to practice, and Michinko follows them and is like, "Hey, we have a soundproof room at my house. Don't you want an older brother?" Obviously he has a crush on Akane. I mean, that's established even earlier in the movie. But then he says, "I don't know what subs you were watching, but mine said, 'Slow your roll, Dad.'" Like, chill out. He's funny. Like, he's the comic relief character, I think.
Wow.
And he's also the voice of reason. Like, he has a lot of different jobs to play, a lot of different shoes to fill in this film. So yeah, he doesn't act like an 11-year-old, but I don't care. Like, he's cool.
All right, talking about the dialogue, I think they are mostly fine. One of these particular dialogue that really I find grating though is the flashback that I just mentioned before, when Aoi come to see Akane and Shino talking to each other, and Akane jump in. And do you remember what Shino says?
I have only 7% body fat.
Yeah. Oh God, like who would say that in that situation? I
I
was like,
actually wrote that down as something that I really liked,
all right,
because it demonstrates that his character is vain,
all right,
that he cares
all
a lot
right.
about his appearance. You know, that kind of explains
Mm,
the red hair as well. He's really into his own image as a musician.
mm,
And I think that
mm.
also explains how he turned out as Shinosuke, the 31-year-old.
And
He had a vision of what his life was going to be like, probably what job he was going to have, how
mm,
successful he was going to be, how he was going to look, because he does have a very like fashionable haircut. When he comes back
mm,
into town, he's got like the long fringe, which is kind of swooped over just a little bit to one side.
mm,
Um, and he's tall and thin, even as a 31-year-old. He doesn't like I'm 30 and I have a bit of a gut going on.
mm,
I'm kind of starting to pudge up a little, but he's kept himself in good shape. So I think it just demonstrates that his character's vain.
mm.
And I appreciated that.
All
Obviously,
right, interesting way to put that.
it's not a very mature thing to do to retort back to a 5-year-old that, hey, I'm not fat. I have 7% body fat.
Yep,
But he is immature. Like he's
yep.
passionate and hot-headed, and he's like Aoi in that regard,
Mm,
which is probably why she starts to fall deeper and deeper into her feelings for him when,
mm,
uh, when the spirit or whatever appears in the temple room, and they're roughly
mm,
the same age, and so then there's that physical attraction as well, in addition to
mm,
their complementing personalities.
mm. Um, yep. How do you think about the Shinosuke and Akane?
I love the scene where he's playing the guitar on the
Yep.
steps outside the town hall or the city hall,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
she finds him, and they have the
Right.
little back and forth, and she makes the request to hear Her Blue Sky, which we can assume is the one song that he debuted with, because we
Yep.
learned that he went solo, but he did it with only one song. Like he didn't even have an album to tour behind. He did it with
Yep.
one song, and knowing that or suspecting, I guess, that it was Her Blue Sky, and Akane knows that song, means she was following him. She was following his career. She was paying attention to what he
I
was doing.
All right. I just think that she did a research before before
Oh, you
that.
think so?
Yeah, I remember like someone told her that he got a career just by just that one song, and I think she's a have a listen
Okay.
then. You
I
know about
don't
that.
I disagree. I think that
All right.
she had been following him the whole time. Like the first time that we get any sort of reaction from her about Shinosuke is
Mm-hmm.
after Aoi sees his spirit in the temple room, and she runs home, and
Mm-hmm.
she mentions his name. She says Shinosuke or Shino, and you can see as Akane's hand is in the bowl of ground beef, you
Yep.
see it
Yep.
like she starts, and little flecks
Shaking.
of yeah. Well,
Yep.
she just is startled by that, and we see little flecks of ground beef fly up. Um,
Right.
you can see that even his name has like a sway over her.
Mm.
Um, and she also says to him in that scene as well, like, I really love Gandhara, I love that song, but there's one that I love even more, and that's
Yep.
Her Blue Sky. Um,
Mm.
so I think that she did actually carry a torch for him for 13 years. But having said that, I love the scene where she takes him back to his hotel room when he's drunk, and he tries to put
All
his
right.
hands on her, and she does a judo throw and throws him over her shoulder. That was one of my favorite moments of the whole film. I was like, what a badass.
Yep. I agree. I agree because the whole thing I think Okada satirizing the musical industry. You know, like satiring how like the famous singer come into town and like make a short up advance to the food, to the local food, which I think is alright, but like to the woman as well.
Yeah.
Like I remember someone comment to him the Dankichi Nitobe, as like every picture you see like he's holding or touching girls,
Right.
and like in that scene Shinosuke tried to like in some very small aspect, but he did that. He tried to take advantage of Akane,
Yeah.
and she just doesn't give a shit. She
Yeah,
just
she was just not having it. Exactly.
yeah
I loved it. I loved it.
yeah I love it.
Because it's not as though the film is saying in that moment she hates him. It's not even saying that she doesn't love him.
Hmm.
She's just repulsed by his behavior because he's being repulsive.
Yeah yeah
And so she can still actually be in love with him and also be disgusted by him, and so she
Mhm.
executes like a martial arts move and leaves him laid out on his back and walks out of the hotel room and says, I think she says, "Don't disappoint me,"
yeah
at the end of that scene, which is another. I mentioned before that we're just getting started, or from now on, is a line that is repeated throughout the film, and "Don't disappoint me" is another one. I think at one point,
mm.
Aoi says that to Shino after one of their conversations in the temple room, and she may say it to her sister as well.
Mm.
But I think that's a lesson that the film teaches to its characters, is that like you may be disappointed in people, but that doesn't mean that you like close yourself off. That doesn't mean you cloister yourself like away from the world.
Mm.
The people that you love, the people that you're friends with, the people who are a part of your life, you stay open. Stay open to them. Don't get inside your own head and look down at the ground. You should look up instead, because the sky's blue.
Yep.
And your life is not your life is not gray. Even if you live in the middle of nowhere, there's adventure waiting for you. There's romance. There's excitement. There's music.
Yeah
And it's all worth taking in.
yeah there's a quote that they've been saying throughout the movies
Yes,
that
the
I also
eccentric
really like.
family quote. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. If the frog stay in the well, he doesn't know the richness of the something
The ocean.
ocean. Yeah, but he know the blueness of the sky.
Yes. And that quote is so fitting for Akane, because she
Yep.
didn't venture out into Tokyo and see the vastness of the ocean. But
Yep.
from her small well, the town that she lives in, she can see how blue the sky is. But Aoi
Yeah.
can't. She,
Mm.
her sister is older and wiser and more self-actualized, so she knows how blue the sky is. She can look up and see that where she lives and what she's done to take care of her sister is beautiful.
Mhm.
Aoi can't see it until the very end of the movie, which again is why I love the ending.
All right. I will come to the part that I don't like about the movie,
Okay.
and that is a character's Aoi classmate Chika, because I don't think her presence here have any significance at all. What do you think?
I think it's important that Aoi has at least one friend. So,
All
I
right.
liked her character. What
All right.
what exactly did you not like about her?
All right. I like her characters. I like her reason behind that as well. She wants to have like a mature boyfriend, just to have a kick of it, so a kick out of it. I just don't think that her involvement have like any significant into the grand scheme of the whole movie.
Oh yeah, she's not intimately involved in the plot. That's true. But her encounter with Shinosuke, when the rumors about that start to circulate through school and Aoi hears about
Mm-hmm.
them,
Mm-hmm.
she's forced to confront the fact that she loves Shino. Do you remember
All right.
the bathroom scene where
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
don't
Yep.
even
Yep.
remember her friend's name. What is it again?
Chica.
Chika. When Chika says to her, "What do you have? Do you have a crush on this guy?" And she's forced to recognize that she
Admit.
does, and she says, yes, I do." Is that so bad? Is that so wrong? I think that's an important moment for her that is brought on by Chica's character. But also, I think that they are two sides of the same coin, because they both want to leave this town. They both want to get out of where they are. That's something that we learned very early about both of their characters. Do you remember the scene with the guidance counselor where they're filling out their future plans
Yep.
questionnaires?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she says that she wants to be a musician, and she's going to do it on
Mm-hmm.
her own. She doesn't need anybody's help. the person who comes into the room after her is Chica, and she says, "I want to be a bride." And so the teacher immediately, like,
Yeah.
I love that scene because there's the tension between the younger and older perspectives. Like, he's probably just a few years away from retirement. He's ready to get out of here, and he's like, "Okay, well, I'll just write down employment," you know. But really, the two girls both they have like a big dream. You know, they both want to get out of this town, but they're going to use different means to do it. Chica is going to hitch her wagon to a man, and Aoi wants no, like, would rather die. You know, she's going to do it herself. She's not going to join a band with a couple of losers, like the guys that we see in high school who try to convince her to join their band. Even small characters like that are really important because they tell us something about Aoi. So I think Chica's main role is to be like a contrast for Aoi, who's very withdrawn, you know, who's not bubbly like Chica, who's not
Yep.
extroverted, and who is not really interested in guys. She's there to play a foil, and I think she does it well.
All right. You said that they are similar in a way that they want to get out of the of the town and want to like move to the new town. I also see that the similarity between them, Aoi, Chica, and to an extent Shino as well, is that they all wanted to grow up too fast. They wanted to be an adult. So they have like a big dream of him. Of them, they have like a big future. They planning ahead of them, and they eager to do that. But like the whole thing, the whole movie is Aoi Shino is like kind of they meet the reality.
Yeah, and learn to accept it.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and I mean, Chica does not have an arc the same way that Aoi or Shino
Yep.
do. That she at the end of the film, she probably still wants to find an older man that she can get hitched to and get out of town, because she's like a very flighty, kind of dreamy character that way. But I think that there's a place for her in the story because of how she contrasts with Aoi, and because she does share that similarity that you just pointed out with several of the other characters. And I mean, she really does seem to throw herself at Shinosuke based on the way that bathroom conversation plays out. She says that he was really serious the whole time, like he did not respond to her advances. So I'm sure that she was like actually trying to get with him, probably in like a pretty intimate way, but he wasn't having any of it. And that's a bummer for her. That's like a setback for her. Why can't I get an older guy to just whisk me away from all this? I mean, that makes her kind of, I mean, she's a little bit loose, but she's also an endearing character. I like her.
All right. I just thought that she picked the wrong person. If she picked like the famous enka singer, that would
Dude, talk about an age gap. Holy shit. that makes After the Rain look like child's play.
Yeah.
I love the
Oh my
Enka singer
God.
too, dude. The fact when he says that he can't play without his pendant. He's so funny. I love every character in this film. they're all so fun to watch.
Oh my God.
And they all have a little bit of goodness in them too. Like nobody is evil, like the Nazis in Lupin.
I thought, all right. I thought you say goopness, and I even that I agree as well. They have like their awkward.
Oh, goofiness. Yeah, they do. Yeah, I mean, and that's part of their goodness. I think is that they are, even though the movie deals with some very serious emotions, thematically, I don't think it's too serious. And as far as the characters go, I don't think it's too serious. The movie is fun, while at the same time being emotional.
All right. So one last question for you before we move on to Lupin the Third. After watching this movie, how you find of the character designs?
I'm glad you asked that because before, like when we were deciding what movies to watch for this week, I was bemoaning the fact that I should probably have his name memorized, but I don't. This guy, the character designer for this film and for the collaborations between this writer and director. He's done the character designs
right.
for all those as well. He did the character designs for Darling and the Franxx. He's done designs for
Yep.
for Makoto Shinkai as well.
Yeah, Masayoshi Tanaka, that's his name.
Yeah. In the past, I have not really enjoyed his character designs. They all look very similar to me. They look like somebody who's trying to ape 90s Gainax without actually pulling it off. Just like a rounder, kind of more babyish version of those Sadamoto designs. But this film made me love those designs, dude.
Oh,
I love them. Now that's not to say that I'm going to be like looking forward to his work, in the future necessarily. But I mean, Aoi in this film just looks like the main girl from Darling and the Franxx, not the pink one, but the blue-haired one. And Akane in this film just looks like the girl who ends up getting pregnant in Darling and the Franxx. Like the characters look like his past designs. This man is not a Swiss Army knife. He is just like a nail filer. He has one job. But I love this film. So I love the designs. And I also love the background art. Bro, were you paying attention to the background art? It's fucking beautiful.
Yep. Yeah, it's really nice.
Man, this is one of my favorite anime that I've seen in 2020 so far.
All right. I'm actually really glad that you enjoyed the show, the movies. You know, like before watching it, I thought that like out of the two films, you would say like, oh, hope look at that.
Yeah, well, I was kind of complaining about the fact that we were gonna watch it a little bit, but man, I'm glad that you suggested it.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise that you end up really enjoying it.
I was very, very surprised. I expected this to be pretty mediocre, over dramatic, but instead it was great.
Well, it is still a bit over dramatic for my taste, I think.
I totally connected with it. And I mean, I think that the way that people feel about a film, whether it's too dramatic, whether it's too sappy, whether it's too random, in terms of its humor or whatever, that just comes down to personal preference and like personal experience and stuff. It's fun to discuss, but it is like an individual interpretation kind of thing.
Yep.
Like what part would you say was the most overdramatic?
All right, every scene where they shouted to each other.
Okay.
So so that had a lot to do with Aoi because she loved to shout.
Yeah.
Especially the scene where Aoi just run out of the temple and Shino trying to say something to her. Remember that scene? I think that scene was good, emotional, but a tad bit over dramatic.
You're talking about the scene where she confesses to him and then she starts to run away and he's like, I can't follow you, so don't leave. Like I have no agency in this situation. I have no choice in the matter. Even if I wanted to follow you, I couldn't. He's like yelling that at her.
Yep, that's right. That's the one.
I mean, anime does have that reputation, like characters shouting their feelings at each other. And I mean, I've seen a lot of that, and I've hated a lot of that. But this film just, my chest is a bullseye, and there's an arrow in the middle of it.
All right. It's my Okada for you. I think like it will hit you, or it just you feel the whole thing. It's just a bit pretentious, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did really like Makia, which she directed, which was 2 years ago at this point, I guess. Yep. And this film was last year. I like this one a lot as well. So I'm going to be going back watching Anthem of the Heart. Going to be more open to Okada stuff in the future, I guess. Going to put a little bit more respect on the character designer's name. Have my opinion of Cloverworks is a little higher now. It's like
wow. Actually, I'm more interested to see A Whisker Away as well.
Yeah, she wrote that, didn't she?
Okada as well.
Yeah, I'm down, man. I'll be checking that out too, like, because I really do respect this film a lot.
All right. Remember O Maiden last year?
Yeah,
maybe it turned out to be that way.
Well, that's the thing. Like Anohana, I was not big on. I didn't hate it, and it did, I did get emotional as the story was going on in Anohana. I did get swept up into it, but afterwards I felt like it was kind of empty. Whereas this film, when I
Right.
reflect on it, I feel like it was full. Like I felt full after having watched it.
Right.
And so I think that maybe she does better with feature length stuff, because there's more time to create just one or two or three arcs for your central characters, and there is not a major story that needs explaining and exposition, to kind of cloud that and like dirty up and impurify that a very simple symmetrical character arc that she could otherwise design. So I think maybe feature films are where she works best and where she ought to stay. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm not her mom or her dad. I can't tell her what to do. But I mean, so the two films that I've seen her write for, I think I've only seen two, are this one and Makia, and she's 2 for 2. So I'm gonna see if I can keep that streak going.
All right. Watching this movie make me want to rewatch one of her series.
Which one?
That she wrote. By Trigger. You remember that one?
Kisniver.
Kisniver. That's right.
I watched 2 episodes of
want-
Kisniver and turned it off.
All right. I want to see if my opinion of it changed or not.
Yeah, that's interesting. That might be worth
Yep.
doing. Yeah, I will probably never go back to that show, but I see exactly what you're saying. Like, Kisniver is. I never got this far in the film, but supposedly it's along the same lines as Anohana. In that it's a group of teenagers who are all forced together by circumstances, and they learn how to deal with their emotions. Isn't Kisniver also the origin of maybe the real friends maybe the blank were the real friends we made along the way? That template.
No,
Like
I
maybe
don't remember that template at all.
maybe the real Kisniver was the friends we made along the way.
All right.
I think so. There's some line like that in that series, which has caused that to become a meme. So it might be worth watching just for that.
Yeah, it does sound a bit familiar, but I wouldn't be surprised that if that line is from Kisniver. It have a lot of cheesy scene. It have a lot of scene where characters shouting their emotion to the others.
But there's also a lot of characters in Kisniver, right? Are there 6 central characters?
Yeah, there are 6.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think
And
this film is really about 3.
focus.
Yeah, this film's really focused on 3, and even between the 3 of them, it's mostly Aoi's story.
Yeah.
And that focus is what gives the film its power, I think.
All right, I would say 4 because I would say that Shino and Shinosuke are different characters.
Okay, I
saw in
go
the
ahead.
poster. I saw in the poster, so
Right.
they're gonna be 4 of them, the main characters.
Right. I expected a love square looking at the poster, but then I was like, "Whoa, I got tricked." I would say they're the same character.
It's just love triangle.
Yeah, I mean, part of it kind of is a love triangle. But to the film's credit, you never really feel that way while you're watching. You feel as though it's the story of 3 or 4 different people who are learning to accept who they are and where they're at.
Yep. All right. So the romance is just like a side dish.
Yeah, I mean, it is important to the film, but I would not say that this is a romance. I would say that this falls squarely underneath the drama.
Drama, coming of age.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move on to Lupin the 31st.
Yep.
Because we have spent a lot of time talking about her blue sky.
Yeah, that's probably my fault. But I did.
It's so good.
It's one of my favorite things I've watched so far this year. So I liked it a lot. But this film, not as much. Definitely not as much.
All right. All right. First thing first. How do you find the CG animation?
So in response to that, let me ask you: did you see the thing I sent you on Discord?
Yep, I did.
Did you see where his hair, like, kind of left his scalp for a second?
I didn't actually see that. I just saw the whole giant sticky thing.
Yeah, like the
and I was
scorpion tail thing.
Yep, and I was laughing like crazy at that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. If you like download that clip and you play it in a video player in full screen, and you just watch
right.
Geralt's hair in that scene, it slides off his head for a second.
All right. I having a look right now. I couldn't see that, but I will try again once I have like my laptop
Okay.
big screen.
Right. Um, there, that was a big animation error that I found in this film, and I mean, it's not as though there were a ton of those. At least not that I saw. I definitely saw that one, and it made me laugh.
Right.
But I think the reason that it stuck out to me so much was because the movie's story did not like carry me along. Like I wasn't carried along by the characters or the story. I was mostly just evaluating it on a visual level.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
how was the CG? I don't know. It was good, I guess. It was fine. It looked like early 2010s Pixar, I suppose,
All right.
or early 2010s DreamWorks. They have not caught up to um, American 3D CG animation houses, or I mean, I'm sure that other like France probably has a really strong 3D animation wing as well. But Japan's is based on what I've seen from this film. Like Japan's is not there yet. But it looks serviceable. Certainly the characters all they've got personality and expressiveness. They're moving in 24 frames a second, which is great. We're not dealing with some choppy TV anime crap.
Yep.
I mean, I'm rambling at this point. What did you think?
All right. I was afraid of the CG at first, but I'm glad that the film keep the character design of the from five main characters, just as they are. So I think especially when it comes to the last series, I think it's Lupin the third part five.
Yeah.
They keep basically the same character design, and even like we mentioned before the postcard, they keep the same voice cast as well.
Hmm.
I think that consistency make me doesn't really see the weirdness out of the CG design. I feel right home with it. They even keep the OP the same with the Pack Five as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, that's the classic Lupin the Third opening, dating back
Oh, is
to
it
dating back to the
the
70s. They
the
just
music?
they just keep
Wow.
rearranging it. Like they get a
Yeah, I see.
new arrangement, new
So
orchestra, new performance. Yeah.
yep. So the new CG look like everything look a bit more realistic, but
A bit.
they still keep yeah, well, a lot more realistic, but they keep like many characters, especially Lupin the third, they keep the comic expression and the comic the movement of of his, and I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah. I mean, he was definitely twirling and pirouetting and making goofy faces and doing
Yeah.
all of his Lupin stuff.
Right.
I actually felt as though because it was playing with such fluidity, like a typical
That
3D feature,
yep.
that it went too far for me.
All right.
Because when you're watching it in limited animation, you really just get the key poses. But in this one, he's like a ballerina. The way that he like moves
Yep.
around the frame in some of these scenes as he's teasing Letitia, or whomever, or like escaping capture from Zenigata, or whatever he's doing, he's acting with so much fluidity and and grace that it's like he's a world class Olympic athlete, rather than just a very slippery thief. So I thought I was
Right.
I was a little taken aback by that. But I mean, they are adhering to the spirit of the character, I suppose, and now we're just seeing what
Yep.
that character looks like in full motion.
Yep. and the way that they do with the black hole stuff, like the destruction of it, I actually yeah, think that it worked for the style, the CG benefit. It looked amazing to me.
Uh, I guess. I guess it did. I don't watch a lot of 3D animated films, so I don't have a big point of comparison. But what I will say about the black holes is that by that point, by the point that the black holes had been introduced, the secret, eclipse weapon that the Nazis want to get, I had been completely lost by the story. I was not
All
interested
right.
anymore, and I just found the whole thing to be ridiculous. So by the time we got to the black holes, I was like, I don't care.
Okay. All right.
But I mean,
Um.
yeah, I mean, there's tons of particle effects and all the pieces of the ground are swirling around, and I'm
Yeah.
sure
So like the
a lot of
new.
talented people worked really, really hard on those scenes to make that
Mhm.
look the way that it looked. But the problem is that when you don't have the story to back it up, then all those people's time and effort and talent
Mhm.
can fall on blind eyes and
Death.
deaf ears.
Yep. All right. I would say that the story, in general, I found that um, it's nothing depth, but it entertainment enough for me. I just think that it's reminded me too much of Indiana Jones, for the matter.
Yeah, I think Indiana Jones is actually a big influence on anime. Do you remember when we were talking
Yeah.
about Hamefura recently, when the characters go into that little temple thing, and there are a bunch of obstacles and like rolling boulders and arrows being fired out of the ceiling, and
Yeah, which show that again? You say that again.
Hamefura, when the
Oh,
characters go into the
Hamefura. Yeah,
temple,
yeah, yeah.
and
True,
I
true,
was
true.
making
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
of the ice thing that they can't figure out they're supposed to use their fire magic.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That whole entire thing is ripped straight from Indiana Jones.
Right. Right.
I mean, I think that film in general it's probably fair to say that it's a big influence on like cinema and media in general, not just anime.
Mhm. So yeah, I found the whole thing is still pretty entertaining. I'm not sure. I don't think that you enjoy the new characters, Letitia or Lambert or Chura.
Yeah, not really. I mean, Letitia's really cute. Um, that's about it.
All
I mean,
right.
she was arguably the central character of this film. She has to
Mm-hmm.
carry it because it's her. She really wants to get into Boston University's archaeological department, and
Yep.
she's the one who discovers like her true parentage, and has to go from like a life of she has to go from a life of crime to rejecting that, and like she's saved by her grandfather in one of the film's climactic scenes, so she has to like say goodbye to him very tearfully and stuff, and
Jeez.
she has a lot of weight to carry,
Yep.
and I don't know, I don't think that she could.
Right.
um,
Well,
she was
for me,
Go ahead, sorry.
yep. No, you finished your thought
I actually
first.
don't have a yeah no I want to hear what you have to say. How did you
All
feel
right.
about it?
I actually think that she carried the weight quite well. So I love the every like her chit chat with Lupin the third. I really enjoy that. The characters that I'm a bit mixed about is Lambert, because I just think that he's just all over the place.
Agreed, completely agreed. Actually, Geralt too
Yeah,
is
well, I
is
I also agree on that.
yeah, he's kind of all over the place as well. The film's
So
handling of like its Nazi antagonists in general is all over the place.
yeah,
It's weird. The tone is weird. Like they're not like super duper evil,
yeah,
but they're also like the amount of sympathy that the film shows to them, like in small moments, also feels strange. Like it leaves the movie without a lot of teeth because I mean they're the bad guys, right? They're the ones that Lupin is trying to steal from and fighting against. So if the antagonists are like kind of weak, then the struggle that Lupin is going to be going through is going to be kind of weak.
Yep.
Uh,
I think the film itself compensate that for telling a more personal story
you
of
mean about
uh
Letitia? Or
of Letitia and Lupin, because because original the whole thing, the whole key and the book and the thing was set up by their grandparents.
right,
So it's more about them, like finding out about their heritage, and like keep moving on, like keep holding the torch. So
right.
I like that idea as well. um but like I'm almost like didn't take the film seriously at all, like the whole thing. I didn't really take the movie that seriously, but like when Hitler come on screen, the old version of Hitler, I was like, oh my god, the show did it. The show just went there.
Yeah, I mean, I knew right away that it was Lupin. Uh, from the first second that he appeared, I knew it was Lupin because I've seen a lot of Lupin stuff, and
uh,
I mean, we see in his very first appearance in this film, he is disguised as one of the
yeah.
security guards at the museum where the Bresson Diary is being exhibited. Uh, and he gets away and he pulls off his face mask, and Zenigata goes Lupin, like he always does. And I mean, Lupin wears like 2 or 3 face masks in every one of his
Movies.
like recent appearances in
Yeah.
the more recent iterations of the franchise. Um, so I knew who Hitler was, and of course the security guards were going to be Jigen and I can't remember how Fujiko played into the ending scene.
She didn't do anything actually. She
Okay.
just stayed in the room, I think.
Yeah. I mean, she
So
wouldn't want to risk her her hair getting messed up or her dress getting dirty, right?
yeah. So I also like the world building of like the setting. So it's focused on the archaeology, and also like we have like sci-fi stuff like
Oh,
at
we
the
most
end.
certainly do. Yes.
So I think it got crazy for it. I just mean like it goes from one thing to another thing with how like in the span of the movies, which is actually remind me a good bit of the Vatican Examiner. I don't remember if you remember that show, but it
Vatican
just
Examiner, right?
yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
yeah. Vatican, yeah. It's just so ridiculous. They had something about Hitler in that series as well,
Yeah.
and I think that ridiculousness work for this type of movies. Yeah, but the whole thing just doesn't feel sharp enough. Like I keep comparing it to Pack Five, because Pack Five is the one that I watching for. I first watched from the whole franchise, but the Pack Five, they deal with the modern technology,
Right.
and that was really on point. That was really good. So compare this movie to that show, it just pale in comparison. The
Hmm.
whole settings.
That's interesting. Um, I mean, I wouldn't even think to compare these two because to me, this film is not Lupin.
All right,
Uh,
all right.
the Lupin is about Lupin being cool and awesome. And
He is cool. He awesome in here.
no, this film is about Letitia and Lambert,
All right.
and Lupin is just like he might as well be an android, like a super powered robot who enables her. He's like her partner,
Yep.
who has all sorts of ridiculous gadgets and stuff. Dude, do you remember the scene where he fires his little watch grappling line and
Yep.
zooms through
Mhm.
that corridor of like laser blasts and stuff?
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
was when I saw that, I was like, oh no, that was so
It's
ridiculous.
sick.
I mean, it was kind of fun, but at the same time, I was like, what are you doing? This makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Um, There were, I mean, one of my major issues here is that like as I said before, the villains are not really believable or threatening or
Mm-hmm.
not really well designed enough in general or well written enough for you to care too much about them. Like Geralt and Lambert, they're both cruel, but they're also kind of like bumbling idiots.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're we get a ton of shots of like both of their faces that are like snarling and are like twisted with rage. But that emotion is not central to the film's story. It doesn't matter how angry they are. What should matter, is that Letitia, needs to learn about her true family situation and reject what her adopted grandfather has taught her, and move on. And we should like Lupin he's important to the film, but think about like Jigen and Fujiko, and like do they even matter? They just show up so it can be a Lupin movie.
Yeah, well, I have no issue with Jigen Goemon and Fujikomine. I have issue with Inspector Chinigata. I don't know why they have include him into this quest as well. Except for like
because it's a Lupin
more
movie.
faces. Yeah, it's iconic. We need to have like all the iconic faces.
Well, you need to hear him scream Lupin because he
Yeah.
does it. There's a point in the film where he does it like 3 times within the span of 30 seconds. I think when Lupin is stealing their helicopter and leaving him stuck in the desert, or plane. I guess it's a plane. I mean, he eventually does get on board the plane, but it's as Lupin is sneaking onto the. You remember what scene I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember.
Lupin. You have to hear him say that.
Yeah, that's iconic. That's why.
Dude, Lambert taking a bullet for his granddaughter. How did you feel about that?
Well, I swear to you, I just think that the whole Letitia and Lambert thing was really lame.
Yeah.
It was really awkward right from the beginning to end. It was just so the way that that he took the bullet for her, I was just like, all right, I roll with it, I guess. Like it doesn't even establish before that like he have any like emotion attachment to her as well.
Yeah.
At all. And then like at that one scene he did that, and then he spoiled the whole fun by saying that like I don't know why I did this and that. It just, oh god, like why you need to explain that,
Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense that he would say that because he like he spends the whole movie degrading, humiliating, and abusing her.
Yeah.
And at the very end, he saves her. So I guess he really didn't understand why he did it. Truly, like we get that little 10-second flashback of him picking her up from the
orphanage.
Yeah, the orphanage. I guess I was gonna say like convent or nunnery or something because we see a nun in the frame, but.
That's right.
Yeah, and she shyly peeks out. And dude, I swear to you, that little 10-second scene was some of the most emotion that I felt watching this film. But then it comes back to the present day, and I'm like, oh wait, that was just used to justify this really shitty, cliched "take a bullet for you" scene, and it does not succeed at all. But
Yeah,
the shot of little Letitia like peeking out from behind the nun's what is it called, the dress?
Yeah.
I'm sure it has some name.
I
was like, oh my god, that's so precious.
I would buy that whole scene if it doesn't fall like the very first flashback that we see that Lambert, who was the one who crashed the car, I think, that killed Letitia's parents.
Oh,
And
that was him who drove out into the
that
middle of the intersection. Is that how his leg got messed up?
yeah, that was him. That was him the whole time, and that was him who took the key, I think.
Right. Yes.
So no, I'm not buying that. No.
Dude, I thought it was really weird that do you remember as that initial scene was concluding, the camera moved down we got the bird's eye view, and the camera moves down the road and then goes into the bushes. We see Bresson's diary hidden in the bushes.
Yeah.
Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
They had thrown it out the window as they were driving, I guess.
Do
you recall
I remember
this?
I recall the but I seen. I don't recall that the book was thrown out or something.
Yeah,
I
it was.
remember that the book was taken, I think.
Oh, okay. I
Bec-
I remember the
I
so the
remember
crash happens.
Letitia holding the whole book, I think, and she's still alive at that time.
No, the
That's what I remember.
baby was holding the key. Baby Letitia was holding
Oh.
the key, which he takes.
Yep. Alright,
But then the
no idea.
camera zooms up. We get the bird's eye view, and it moves. It moves down the road, far away from the accident that's just happened, and then it zooms in on one of the bushes along the side of the road where it's dark and there's no one around, and we see Bresson's diary, and then we immediately cut to the museum exhibit where it's
Someone
being
found it.
displayed. I thought for sure that was a fake.
Yeah.
That the Bresson's diary in the present day was a fake, and that the old one had not been,
Found.
it had, well, obviously someone would have picked it up in the ensuing 60 or 70 years, but it would be in somebody else's hands now. I don't know. I thought that was weird.
Right. I understand.
I thought this whole film was weird, dude. I thought that Hitler showing up, disguised or not, I thought that was weird. I thought that the timing of a lot of scenes was strange. For example, the scene where Lupin has been captured, he sneaks aboard the boat with Letitia, and they figure out how to open up Bresson's diary and stuff. And then, so Lupin, they handcuff him or subdue him in some way, and he's talking with Lambert and poking at him, referencing the fact that his legacy was tarnished, and Bresson was always one step ahead of him and such. There's too much space between their lines. If Lambert is really, as we learn that he is throughout the film, if he's so caught up in Bresson's shadow and trying to emerge from it and prove himself, why would he wait for Lupin to finish his taunt and then give a beat of a second or a second and a half and then respond? They should have been the dialogue should have been bop 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 between the two of them, because Lupin's trying to antagonize him and Lambert's supposed to fall for it hook, line, and sinker. And then as in that same scene, as Lupin is being taken away by Hans, the big beefy guy with the blonde mustache, he exchanges
the poor guy.
Yeah, the one who gets crushed into a little can or a gun.
Yeah.
He exchanges a look with Geralt. I don't know if you remember this or not, but as Lupin is being, Hans is preparing to accompany him down the stairs, and he stops. Geralt, Lupin stops. Hans stops accompanying him. Lupin looks up at Geralt. They exchange a look of some significance, which I still don't understand. And then Lupin is pushed back down he's taken along down the stairs again. I don't understand why it was necessary for him to stop. Couldn't he have given him that look while Hans was still escorting him down the steps? And what was the point of that look in the first place? Honestly, you know what I think? I think that some of the confused tone of this film has to do with the fact that originally the role of Geralt's character was different. I think that the look between Lupin and Lambert in that film was supposed to be some sort of message communicated there. Lambert or Geralt is playing for the other team or something. I think that the weird jumbled tone of this film might have to do with the fact that it was rewritten.
Maybe.
That's just a wild guess on my part, but if the truth comes out in 10 years and we learn that, I'm going to be like, man, I was such a genius.
Yeah. And by that point, I don't think you remember anything about the movie at all, except for maybe the CG.
Yeah, probably.
And how much you had it?
I mean, the CG was okay. The characters in the story were meh.
Yep.
And
I
sorry,
enjoyed. Yeah, I just want to say that I enjoyed the movie more than you for sure. I still think it's a very fun and good adventure movie that I can watch again from start to finish.
Okay. I will never be watching this film again. And in fact, I think it's scary that the title of this film is Lupin the Third, the First. I think that's kind of
Yeah. So
frightening because it may imply that future Lupin films are gonna look this way, and even like have this approach to their stories. And that
I would
freaks me
say
out.
the same. All right. Do you familiar? Are you familiar with the Doraemon movies?
No, I haven't seen any Doraemon or read the
Yeah,
manga.
because like Doraemon, like they have like every single year coming out every year.
Yep. Well,
Um,
Lupin always has a special coming out, like a TV special come out every year, and sometimes they have theatrical releases, but it's mostly TV specials.
yep. What I'm getting at is like they have like every movies coming out every year, and then like in 2014 they have two movies. One of them is Stand by Me Doraemon, which is like a remake. I'm not really sure it's not a remake. It's like they do the franchise all over again.
They reboot the franchise, kind of.
Rebuild, yeah, they rebuild with CG, and that's from the same director of Lupin 31st.
Oh no.
Uh, yep, and Stand by Me Doraemon 2 is supposed to coming out like either this year or next year.
Is it?
So yep. So I think that's gonna be like a trend. That Lupin the Third, the CG gonna be more. that there will be more to come.
Okay. Well, I mean, it'll be a chance for the team to improve. It'll be a chance for Japan to showcase its like this is up for the main category in NSC, which is going on right now.
Yep.
And I suppose that's good exposure for Japan's 3D animation wing.
Yep.
I guess. I don't know. Like my issue with this film truly is not like with the visuals. I love 2D animation, and I want it to thrive for as long as it can before eventually it disappears, which it will. But as far as this film in particular goes, like Lupin and all of, especially his sidekicks were neutered completely. They were like, we're here, and this is a Lupin movie. Now back to your regularly scheduled Letitia and Lambert programming. I guess that was my major problem with it. Not just that they weren't not just that the main characters of the Lupin franchise weren't the main focus, but that the ones that the film did choose to focus on felt a little scattered and confused.
Yeah.
And there was, I don't know, like in terms of like direction and layout, I felt that like a lot of scenes were punctuated the wrong way. Like, for example, do you remember the scene when Lupin, he steals the diary and he's on the rooftop with Letitia, and they're talking, and she's trying to steal it from him, blah blah blah, and then Zenigata shows up, and he jumps the rooftop, and he's caught up in that net. Do you remember they shoot like a net out of a gun at him, and it wraps him up, and he falls to the ground. The way that scene ends is with Zenigata, on a shot of Zenigata laughing at him, and then it cuts to later that night, Letitia walking down the city streets and radioing her grandfather. But that's all wrong. Like, the way that first scene should, the one with Lupin getting caught in the net, after Zenigata laughs at him, we should cut to a shot of Lupin on the ground, look like kind of rolling his eyes at Zenigata's triumph, because we know that he's just going to escape. So we should get a shot of Lupin rolling his eyes to conclude the scene on a comic note, and then we cut to Letitia, so we get the contrast between Lupin's sillier antics and the more serious situation that she's dealing with. And that would also visually connect Lupin and Letitia, instead of cutting from Zenigata laughing to Letitia. I mean, that just seems like a no-brainer to me in terms of storyboarding your film. You want to visually connect the two characters who will later on form a connection. So to not understand that, like, I'm just some nerd on the internet. Like, but that's so obvious to me. I don't understand why. I had a bunch of issues that were similar to that with this movie.
Yeah,
So.
I can see that. I can see the direction is a bit awkward at times. Doesn't really make sense at times. So yeah, I think it's something that they can improve because from what I know, the directors, he's although he worked with some animation project, he's a live action director.
I
So
see.
I think
Okay. Well, I
that
mean,
must be why.
that's maybe, but I don't know. Like that one scene in particular that I would just went into such detail on. Obviously, that it's kind of a nitpick, but I also feel as though it's pretty important when you're storyboarding an animated work or any sort of piece of art that you really do have a nitpicky mentality. Like that's how a film is assembled. You're as the
Jeez.
person putting it together, you're nitpicking literally everything so that when the whole thing is put together, it all flows.
Yeah.
Um, so he live action, huh? I mean,
All right.
Anno kind of Hideaki Anno is one of my favorite anime
Yep.
directors, and he kind of approaches anime with the cinematic mindset. And in fact, he disappeared from the anime industry for a period of like 10-ish years in order to do just strictly live action. So it's not as though I don't think that people can't cross over between the two, but
All right. I tell you one of some movies that he made. Space Battleship Yamato, the live action.
I haven't heard.
Parasite, the live
Oh
actions.
no,
So like they're all based they're mostly based from manga from what I see. Have you ever heard of Dragon West?
did you say Dragon
Uh
Dragon West?
yep, the film that just came out last year.
I have
He
not.
directed that as well. All right, it's not a good one. That I heard like a lot of like complaint like about the terribleness of of the story. So
Well, that's not good.
interesting.
Yeah. I think I've probably complained about this enough. I have more. Like I've got more gripes. And despite everything I've said, I did not hate this movie. I
Right.
just found it to be disappointing and setting kind of a shaky precedent going forward, which I think is ultimately the biggest problem with it. Is that this is a film they chose to label Lupin the Third the First, and to use this new visual medium. I suppose it's a new medium. I mean, a new format. I don't know.
Yep.
And then this is what we got. Like it would have been great if it had started off a little stronger in terms of the longevity of the franchise and all that. But maybe I'm just wrong about everything, and this is going to win at Annecy. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I don't really know how people perceive this one, like in terms of in the anime festivals.
Yeah,
Maybe they like it. Maybe like it's the first time they see like any of the Lupin, the first franchise, and they was wow over by the eccentricness of all the characters.
I mean, how
Maybe
could
they
this beat
find that the
Bigfoot Family?
direction. Sorry, come say again.
How could this beat Bigfoot Family?
You are right. You are right. That's gonna be the one to beat.
Does Annecy usually go more mainstream or more artsy with its choices in its
It
categories?
All right. It usually goes more axis.
Okay, well then this
So
film is not going to win.
yep. So I'm pretty sure that the last anime that won the NSC was Low Over the World.
Well, that was just very recent.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
That was once
wait,
like I think that's like the very first one that the very first anime that win in the NSC. I think.
Lou Over the Wall won, but not The Night is Short, Walk On Girl.
Yeah, because that show is not featured in there.
Man, there's
But
no
it
fucking justice in this world.
all right. It on the same year with In This Corner of the World, so I would love for in
Oh
this corner
yeah,
of the world to win over Look Over the World.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Weren't those films released in separate years, 2016 and 2017? I think.
Yeah, but it's like it's a year late for the 2016, I think. So that's the same year of In This Corner of the World or A Silent Voice,
Yeah.
and Look Over the World took it, but which I think is still fine. It's US films, you know.
I mean,
He should have win something. So
giving
might as well.
Yuasa an award for Lou Over the Wall instead of Night a Short Walk on Girl. I still remember like the 2000 Grammys, so 20 years ago. Steely
All right.
Dan, one of my favorite bands, were awarded for an album called Two Against Nature, which was their comeback record after
All
like a
right.
20-year break. But
All right.
the reason they were given the Grammy for that album was basically an acknowledgement of all their previous work.
Yep. Yep. They
You know,
they did all that.
yeah.
Yes.
So Yuasa getting the top prize at Annecy for Lou Over the Wall is like, congratulations on a career filled with better projects. Here's an award for this one.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, I liked Lou Over the Wall, but it does, it's not his best. And in fact, it's probably near the bottom, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, there are 4 films that he made so far, right? My Game, Look Over the World, Cry Your Wife, and The Night is of Walk on Girl.
Yeah, I think it's just those four. And
I
then
I-
Inuo is coming out next year.
yeah, that's right. I would say Look Over the World is my least favorite because like all the other three are absolutely a gem.
Yeah, Lou is my least favorite of those four as well.
Yeah. So that's okay. At least he wins something. I'm not even complaining.
Yeah. Well, how we start talking about this?
Yeah. Let's move on to the Great Pretender because we're almost like 90 minutes mark and we have one more show to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't have as much to say about these 3 episodes of The Great Pretender as I had to say about the first episode, because
All
the
right.
first episode like knocked me back on my ass with how awesome it was, and these 3 not as much. Like they continued the same story. They did it with the same general sense of style and fun,
Right.
but it wasn't the shock to my system that the premiere was.
All right. Does it surprise you in any way? Like, does the development of the plot make you excited or something?
I assume that mostly what you have in mind when you're saying that is the fact that Laurent and Abby get shot to death.
Yeah, that's right.
I was actually not surprised by that.
I'm not surprised either. I think that it was all scheme as well because I know that they are the main characters.
Right. And there are 18
Um,
episodes left. They can't die. Like,
That's right. I didn't know though that Paula Dickens was involved.
okay,
So that was a really nice surprise for me.
that was actually spoiled for me. I knew that her name was Cynthia. That there was a redheaded
Oh,
character
right.
named Cynthia, so I knew who Paula Dickens was. Which is
That's-
unfortunate, yeah, but
Yep.
it's okay. The biggest surprise to me actually was the conclusion of episode 5, where Edamura returns to Japan and turns himself in with his sack of $100 bills at a Japanese like corner police booth.
Yep. Yep.
That is actually very interesting to me because I don't know anything about the second case, episodes 6 to 10. So I assume that the series is not going to go deep into his like any jail time that he serves or his trial or what exactly happens. I assume that that's going to be skimmed over pretty fast so we can get to more cons and capers and things. But I was very surprised by that.
I think it speaks more about his characters that he want to like do good. He want to live a good life.
Yeah. How do you
so
feel? How
that-
do you feel
I
about
think-
that? The fact that he's being kept, like the show is kind of reserving him as like a morally good character. Like he wants Salazar not to go to get locked up because of his son, and he turns himself in and all that.
Yeah. All right. I think the fact that he want to spare one of his so-called friends is a bit too over romanticized. So I think that like that guy he's nice and all he's really nice with his son, but like every Batman I know like mafia and stuff really keen of their son as well, their children. So it's not really a good indicator that like he was a good man, because I don't think he was a good man at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of explains that he wanted the best for his son. So he needed money. He needed to make a name for himself and be successful in order to provide for his family.
Or
But he didn't have the brains or the money to like go to school and make something of himself that way. So instead, he turned to. He said one of his lines was, "I grew up in like the worst parts, like the worst parts of this country, like things I've seen things that are unimaginable that you haven't seen." So he he may have taken the path, the best path that was available to him. But nevertheless, I'm sure that he's stolen and killed, in the name of the man he serves. So that's obviously not great.
All right. You know the sentence that you just say. I seen thing that
That you wouldn't believe,
ma-
that kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah. You know what that quote come from? Which movie?
I don't, but I've heard it in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, Blade Runner.
I've seen things that you wouldn't believe. That comes from Blade
Yeah,
Runner.
that you people wouldn't believe.
Oh,
That
okay.
come from a robot who say that to the human.
Is it Roy? Is that who says it?
I don't remember. I don't really remember his name.
Like
Actually.
the main robot, the one who says the tears in rain speech?
Yeah. That's the one. That speech.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's part of the tears in rain speech. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
It was
I've
improvised by
seen
him.
the whole thing was improvised.
Yeah, it was improvised by him. Like the original text that he had to say was like half a page long, monologuing, and he hated that so much
Oh, okay.
that like when it come to shooting, he just like say the thing that like improvise the stuff. So the tea in the rain is especially was him improvising.
Yeah. I have seen Blade Runner. I have not seen 2049 yet. I definitely need to get onto that. But
That
probably
was
only
a really good one.
probably what 2049 was.
Both of them.
Oh, I I don't know if I liked Blade Runner.
Right.
I was the first time I watched it, I was mostly just trying to absorb as much as I could, like in terms of the visual layout and imagining how they accomplished all of it back in the early 80s. And thinking about the themes of the film and everything. I wasn't like film didn't really suck me in. So I need to watch it again and then watch 2049.
It had a huge pacing issues. So I can see why that you didn't really like it the first time. I didn't really like it the first time. Things improved much the second time. I still think that the sequel is structured way better than it's a bit too long, but it's structured way better than the first one.
Well, that makes sense to me because like older science fiction is really obsessed with its concepts. So like when science fiction was first finding its footing, and by that point, by the 80s, it had already found a footing in literature. But in cinema, it was first starting to establish its visual language. Like Blade Runner was the film that really kind of kicked that off. So it does move kind of sluggishly because it's really interested in exploring the differences between artificial intelligence and human intelligence, and like creating a series of symbols and like visual codes for the way that people are kind of contained and oppressed in this system that the film takes place within, and all of that. And it's like the story is taking a back seat to what the film is like about. It's not about the story. It's about something
That's
else.
right. I love this conversation, but let's head back to the Great Pretender.
Okay. So yeah, we go ahead. What's next?
All right. So I definitely see that coming. So the whole thing was like not really that surprising to me, except for the fact that Paula Dickens or H3r is involved in that. She even like the mastermind behind all this. So I really like it.
She is?
I think she is like the house, the house that they living, the house, Iceland.
Her villa. Yes, it's her villa.
Yeah, it's her villa. So I think she's like the boss.
Oh.
Of it.
Do you think is there going to be like a power struggle between her and Laurent in the future?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Laura gonna be a loyal
Loyal.
loyal dog
I
to
think that
her.
it's
That's what I
possible
think.
that Laurent and Abby. I mean,
Uh,
I kind of think that Laurent is gay. Um,
I do think that if all right, maybe now that you say that, I do think that maybe it's Abby who's the one who care who's like every man or woman by themselves kind of people.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, she gives a speech in episode 2, I think, to Edamura, saying, look out for yourself. You can't trust
Mm-hmm.
anyone.
Yep.
If shit goes sideways, you're going to be on your own. And I mean, I may be partnered up with Laurent right now, but really I'm on my own too.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought up like Laurent's possible homosexuality is that I'm still speculating about like the ED. Who are the man and the woman in the doorway at the end? Have you? I know you always skip the OP and ED, but did you go back to the ED and watch it?
All right. I actually haven't. I actually just listened to the music. They're very nice music as I scroll through the internet. So
You gotta
sorry.
you gotta watch the ED because
All right.
the
I will.
identity of the man and woman embracing in the doorway and who the cat is supposed to
Yep.
represent. I mean, I feel like it might be Laurent and Abby.
Huh.
So I mean, some of the remarks that Laurent has made to Edamura kind of make me think that he's gay, but
Mm.
at the same time, the show's positioning of he and Abby as like the two kind of major
Partner.
players in this
Mm.
con man group make me
Yep.
think that maybe there's something going on between the two of them. I don't know.
All right. So like
I'm
I
sorry,
think that
Laurent and Cynthia. I keep misspeaking. Laurent and Cynthia. I was saying the
so
wrong
not
name the
Abby.
whole time.
All
The
right.
whole time.
All right. So it's Lauren and Cynthia, not Lauren and Abby.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think that the two people in the doorway could be Laurent and Cynthia. Yes.
All right. Yep. Yep.
And
All right.
I mean Abby is like you said, and that must be why you said Abby's like a lone wolf. Yeah, because you were like, Whooper, what are you saying?
Yep.
What are you talking about?
All right.
So I'm just
s-
interested to learn more about Cynthia and Lauren's relationship with her and see what the
Yeah.
second case is like and all that.
Yeah. That's right. Because my impression would be Lauren have like a big crush on Cynthia, and just like I said, loyal dog to
Right.
her.
Yeah, that's
Um.
I could see that being the case. Like he's the cat in the ED who finds his way home to the woman that he loves. Maybe they'll get separated at one point in the story, or his loyalty will be called into question, and then he'll have to disappear for a while or something, and then he'll come back. I don't know.
mm,
I do want to learn
uh,
like being locked into Edamura's point of view kind of is limiting. So I mean he's the main character and I assume we'll continue to follow him, but I would really love to learn more about everybody else too. I think that's the show's
right.
responsibility at this point.
All right. I do think that's gonna be happen in the second case because like the first one is pretty much just like an establishment. So that it's like in the introduction of like the whole grand scheme. So we not and because it's about like double cross, triple cross, which very apt to our title by the way.
Hmm.
Like we don't know the exact nature of them until the very end. So like the next case would be Edamura get to know more about the real Lauren, Abby, and Cynthia. And come to trust them in order to like pull the trick out of everyone else. So I think that's gonna be maybe the case next main goal. The next case main goal.
Hopefully, I mean hopefully the show is stays rooted in its characters.
Mm.
We need to learn more about them. Their relationships need to start to evolve. Like
Yep.
Edinburgh has to start getting closer to the others. They need to start trusting him more. Obviously Abby's going to be the holdout in that respect. She's gonna like be harder on him than everybody else, and we have to see how that whole thing goes.
I would love to see the romance between Edamura and Abby's though,
I
to be
mean,
honest.
I know what you mean. I kind of feel that, but at the same time, Abby is like such a she's such a force of nature. Like I also don't want her to be tied down. Like I would be more
Yeah,
interested kind of in seeing her like
yeah,
fall for um like one of their marks. Like maybe there's a
right.
guy who they have to trick when they're doing one of their capers, and he's like exactly her type, and she starts to get
Uh-huh.
smitten with him a little bit, and then she has to be pulled back
Yeah.
because her loyalty starts to waver, something like that. Just like a very brief interlude, and then she's back to being like a
Hmm.
hurricane again. You know,
Right.
um, but I mean, as long as the show stays fun, stays light, keeps the good dialogue and the cool action,
Yep.
at the same level, then I'll
Hmm.
be happy with whatever road it
Yep.
takes, I guess. Just so long, we just need to learn more,
Right.
about these people.
I would definitely say that they will, because like that is like one of the most interesting part about the show itself, like the characters themselves. And I'm also glad the way that like the first act, the first 5 episodes, we seen the story to Edamura point of view. So we see like how he struggled to like if decide whether he's selling out Lauren and Abby or not, because I think it makes sense in the way that first he want to clear himself out of all the trouble, and second because he's still thinking at the point that Lauren and Abby forced him to make heroin
Right.
out of the thing. So like he wanted them to get arrested, but based on that, I think it makes sense.
I suppose. I mean, part of the reason that I asked you earlier, like, how do you feel about Edamura having this like moral center and being
Yep.
kind of like the good character, so to
Yep. Yep.
speak? The part of the reason I asked about that was because he does. I mean, remember when he was hanging on and trying to make an honest living when his mom was still alive in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
but then when she died, he he approached Kudo,
Mm-hmm.
the older guy who actually works for Laurent,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Let's just I'm ready. Like I'm ready to be a con man for real.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing tethering me to a good or righteous life anymore."
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm wondering where that version of Edamura went, because now he's like
Right.
taking an issue with making drugs. He wants to save Salazar, and I mean, I guess it makes sense that he wants Salazar to stay with his son because he has his own father issues.
Yep.
But
Which yeah, we did learn about that. Yes.
yeah, but I mean, where's the version of his character that like threw himself into a life of crime? Because here he seems to be motivated by, I don't know, like self-preservation and the instinct to do what's right. And I don't like
All
someone
right.
like that cannot survive in a criminal
All right.
world.
All right. He also the one who tried to double the bet. Remember, like the initial deal of buying off that truck is like 5 million, and he
Yeah.
doubled that to 10 million. So he very well has the capability and the mind to do it if he wanted to. And I think like the whole series will be about him, maybe trying living that life, enjoying that life, while like sometimes the good part of him just kick in and make him more um you know decide stuff that be best for everyone else.
Yeah, I definitely I see what you're saying. Yeah, like there's going to be a conflict between his knack, his affinity for
Hmm.
like playing characters, because that's what we see from him a lot in this. I mean, the
Yeah.
whole first case is structured around him playing a character, and in fact, he plays a character within a character when he studies all the Die Hot films, and learns about them so that he can pretend that in as a Japanese boy, he watched them and loved them, like the Japanese localized versions of Kasano's films. He studies them
Hmm.
so that he can play his character even more effectively. So he's really good at slotting into those roles. That seems to be his niche. It's not like he's not really physically adept, and he doesn't have a really cool head for like I don't know, just generally keeping it all together and seeing all the different plays and options at his disposal. What he's good at is like inhabiting a character. But I don't know, like I don't know how long the show can kind of hedge itself on his character. I don't know how long it can say, oh, he's a natural born con man, and oh, also he has a heart of gold. Like there's interesting material there when you put the two in conflict with each other, but you can't keep that tension for 23 episodes. At some point, he has to like embrace the criminality of it all.
I understand what you say, but that I think that's one part of make his characters a bit like interesting, because like he out of all these con men, he actually, you know, like at the end of episode 5, he turned himself up. He turned himself in. For all the crime that he did back in Japan. So I also think that he been conflicted between, you know, like living a really honest life and living a become like the best comment in the world. So
but how long can that go on?
Yeah, well, we will, you know, like wait to see that. Maybe like I would say like the direction that I think the show would take is that when he come to learn more about Lauren, Abby's, Cynthia, about the people around him who he care for, he would, you know, like con other people, but try his best to protect these people.
Trying his best to protect what people? Lauren and
these friends.
Yeah, these con man friends.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Lauren is portrayed as kind of a Robin Hood. Like he only, and that's a conversation that he has in at the end of episode 1 or the start of episode 2 with, but like between Laurent and Edamura. Laurent says to him, "I'm not some petty thief like you. I only steal from people who, like, you know, I only steal from the lowest of the low." So he's kind of a Robin Hood figure. Nevertheless, you know, what he's doing is really, really wrong. So, I mean, I guess the general trajectory that I'd like to see is, like, first of all, I love what you said about him, like, learning more about his coworkers, I suppose you would call them. Laurent, Abby, Cynthia, even Shi Wan, the elderly woman, who we've seen playing a couple characters. I think she's awesome. I love her design. Like learning more about all of them, coming to trust them, forming friendships with them. As a result of that, getting deeper and deeper into criminal activity. And then as we get close to the end of the series, there is some like watershed moment where he realizes that, you know, things have become really serious, and he decides that he's going to pull one last job and then he's going to get out. And then we see that get pulled off successfully. He goes off to live on, live a quiet life with his piles of money. And
maybe with the loss of some of his friends, so maybe someone would die in that process, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if The Great Pretender is the kind of show that would kill somebody off, but it could. That could be like what makes him get out of the game.
Maybe like the loss of someone that he cared for would be the very factor that he questioned like this whole life.
Are you gonna say? Are you telling me that Abby's gonna die?
Nah, not Abby. Maybe someone else. Like I would say that Edamura is more invested in Cynthia at the moment.
You think so?
Abby's.
No,
yeah, I think so.
He likes Abby. I'm pretty sure he actually likes Abby.
Really?
I mean, she keeps visiting him in his room at night, and like she's making fun of him and calling him a virgin and saying like, she's like basically stepping on him.
All right. I have like a co-worker, the core team vibe from them more than a romance vibe.
Okay.
I don't think it's more. It's more from Edamura and Cynthia. Let's see. It's interesting to see. Like,
dude. The scene where we first meet Abby and she gets out of the pool, and Edamura's like staring at her. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's into her. We'll find out.
Yep. yeah,
I mean, they're both great. So if I were him, I would be
yes,
like,
yeah.
which one do I choose? As though I would have a shot with either of them.
Or maybe Laurent.
I mean, he's dapper as hell. Like, that's a good
Yeah.
looking man right there.
I would say like the first 5 episodes was really enjoyable for me, really good.
Yeah,
The fact that I know they are conmen, when Lauren and Abby was shot, I know for sure that they not dead. But like the whole thing, the whole payoff was really worth it, you know.
yeah. I mean, I kind of wish that they didn't go that route, the shooting
Right.
Laurent and Abbey route, because it's it like
Over the
eh,
top Hollywood.
yeah. I mean, 90% of people watching that episode were probably aware as soon as it happened that they were not dead. Like, why even go there if you're not even going to trick
Yeah,
the
the
people who are
audience.
like, yeah, the people who haven't even seen, like, the Japanese people, because this show, it's on Netflix and everything, but it is made for a Japanese audience. And
Yeah,
so even Japanese people who are less accustomed to these sorts of tropes, or maybe they are like, maybe you're just not fooling anybody. uh I don't know. I kind of wish they hadn't done that, but I suppose it makes sense because you need Kasano to see them die, in
yeah,
order to kind of like remove them from the equation in his mind, like
yeah,
so they can get off scot free with all of his cash. Um,
yeah,
it makes sense, but I don't know. I just didn't really feel that scene. I
yeah.
kind of lost me for a second,
Well,
but
but
still into the show.
yeah, I really love the way that they pull a really perfect plan, except for Edamura just becoming a hero and acting up.
Yeah,
So he actually the one who nearly ruined the whole things, but that's the fun part of it, you know, like everything that isn't supposed to go like perfectly as planned.
dude, what did happen when he pulled the gun on Cynthia? I can't
All right,
remember.
he pulled the gun on Cynthia, so everyone have to raise down their guns. And the guy he went back to blow up the whole thing, the whole evidence.
Oh, that's right. Yes, there was
Yeah,
that explosion happened. So that was not
yeah, yeah.
accounted for in their plans.
Nope, nope, nope.
Yeah,
But
and of
they do
course no
have a
one died
picture.
from the explosion.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was not a good part of it.
No,
Yeah,
no one
I agree.
dies.
Surprisingly,
Actually, don't they say, wasn't there a line in there about there were a couple of casualties, but they were just Anderson's cops?
yeah. Casualty, it just means that they just have like a few bruises.
Okay. Yeah, I
Just
guess
pass out.
fatality would be the word they would use if someone had died.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So not a big deal at all.
Okay. Well,
Ye-
pretty
all
good
right.
pretty
So
good start to this
um
series, right?
yeah I feel confident to say that Great Pretender is like the anime of the season so far for me.
Well, which season are you talking about?
The next season.
Okay, well, me too. Surprise, surprise. I think based on these 5 episodes, it's probably in my top 3 for the year.
Yeah. If it can catch up to the Steam, it will be. But we will see if if it lose Steam or not.
Yeah, I mean, there's possibility for it to lose sight of its cast and become more about like I don't know, just car chases
Yeah,
and I mean
I think
car
because
chases and gunfights. They're fun, but you know,
yeah, I do think because the plots rely much on trick and double cross, so it actually make us more aware of all the tricks, and that's make us harder to engage to the main story and the characters. So it had like a very big hurdle to to overcome after these 5 successful episodes.
that's true. That's true. Well, I mean, as long as they just watch Ocean's 11, you know,
Yep.
this
Yep. Yep.
just watch Ocean's 11 and then just do that like 5 times throughout the course of the series, and then tweak it a little bit every time, and you're good to go, man. I'd watch that anime all day.
Right. I just hope that they don't have like 11 awesome characters out there, because it's really hard for me to learn all these name and
Oh yeah,
faces.
I mean, we'll probably stick with the 4 that we have right now, because it has to introduce a new set of like villains with every case.
That's right. That's right.
So we'll probably just focus on the main four. And I love I really like that there are characters like Shiwon and Kudo and other like kind of bit players in Lauren's organization. So learning a little bit more about them might be cool. I wouldn't say it's a requirement. We could get a few more of them. I mean, the show could go in a lot of directions because it does have these little five episode chunks to do. It can experiment with one of them and then reset,
Right.
so to speak.
Yep. All right. So next week we're gonna back to normal. So we're gonna review on the finale of the current season shows.
Next week we're not doing a podcast, right?
Oh shit! Yes. Sorry. My bad. So next week we're gonna take a break, and the week after that we're gonna do like all these the preview of all these final episodes of the current season shows, plus second volume of Pluto. And then the week after that we're gonna do the first impression.
Yeah, of the summer season. I mean, but
Wow.
it's gonna be slim pickings, because this is virus country right now. It's virus world, virus planet.
That's right.
So
I only have like 5 shows I think so far that I really wanted to watch.
yeah, and one of them, Ikebukuro Westgate Park, was delayed until the fall.
Oh, tell me about it. Why I don't have any surprise feeling when I heard that.
Yeah, but I mean, we got Great Pretender, Japan Sinks, Decadence.
Yep.
And
that's enough.
Yeah, I mean, as long as those three can, as long as they don't disappoint us, then
yep,
we'll have something at least.
All right. So we nearly run 2 hour mark, but all good discussion here. So enjoy the listening, and we see you in 2 weeks.
See you then.